Hey everyone, it's David from socialexpression.net, and I'm very, very pleased to have with me my friend and fellow coach, Shogo Garcia. Today
Hello.
we are talking about the dangers of being selective and picking who you want to talk to, who you want to be social with, versus connecting with everyone. It's a topic that Shogo and I went back and forth over email. What are we going to talk about? What would really help you guys out? It just sort of naturally grew out of it. And I was like, oh, that's an amazing topic. Cause I find I've struggled with that at times too. And Shogo has a lot of awesome, amazing experience, knowledge, and wisdom that he's going to share with us today. We're going to have an interview with Shogo, but also we call it an interjam, a term I made up that we're going to go back and forth as well. But I really want you guys to get introduced to Shogo and see how awesome he is and subscribe to his stuff and all that because he's so great. So, hey, welcome, Shogo.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, man. It's very, very cool of you. Very nice. Very nice to say all that.
Well, it's it's what I think about you. So just being as honest as I can. Cool. So this, this is a wide and rich topic. We can go a lot of different places. Yeah. And, the first thing that occurs to me, even as you said it to me the other day, I was like, I found myself, I was doing that a little bit. I was being a little selective as I was out and about being social. I was like, damn, I got caught in that. And just how it doesn't feel as good as well. So, what's kind of the first thing that comes to mind is, what's the problem? What's the danger of like picking and choosing who you talk to versus kind of connecting with everyone?
Well, I think you hit it. I think you hit the nail on the head right there, right? When you said that, we catch ourselves doing that. And I do too, of course. That's why I think it's such an important thing to talk about, especially when we hit our own blind spots and the things that we tend to do ourselves. But the key is, you already said it, is it doesn't feel good when we do it, I think. And of course, when it comes down to going out there and being social and socializing and connecting with people especially, right? I mean, it's like we want to put our best foot forward and all that stuff. And all those, desires to get there and all that stuff comes the anxiety, right? We want to be our best selves and present our best selves. But if we're not feeling good while we're doing it, that makes it so difficult. It's almost like we're being pulled in two different directions, right? Like we want to run forward or walk forward or sprint forward, whatever pace we want to take. But somehow it feels like something's pulling back on us at the same time. And that's that kind of like, that terrible feeling that we get, right, when we're out in social situations, which I know you can relate to that. And I'm sure I definitely can. I'm sure a lot of people out there can as well. But the big key is what I think the thing that pulls us back is the fact that we don't really feel good about ourselves while we're doing it, or we don't really feel good about our motivations for what we're doing. So there's always this kind of part of us that we're keeping hidden, right? This thing that we're not, I guess, not being fully honest and open about. And I like what you said right in the beginning as well. That thing about being honest, and we try to be as honest as we can, because when we're not, it doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And just so I can be as honest as I can, I forgot to ask you, about your journey and your story, so everybody knows how you got here,
right?
How you came to be who you are and the coach that you are and helping people, and then your journey on this. So tell us some about your story. We'd love to hear that.
Sure. Well, my name is Shogo. I'm 33 years old, and I'm from California, United States. And I don't, as a coach and in this industry, we come across so many different characters and so many different people who have just wonderful stories. And there's kind of always this kind of like tipping point, like there's a really low, and then there's this kind of upward journey and maybe a couple ups and downs and stuff. And I would say that for me, it's been a journey the entire time. I don't think there was ever really a point in my life where I could say, okay, I hit this all-time rock bottom and I just resolved myself to say, I'm going to try to figure this thing out with whatever it is. I'm going to try to be successful. I'm going to try to be more social. I'm going to try to beat this massive social anxiety that I have. But I think one thing that I do have is that I wouldn't say that I have social anxiety, but I certainly, and I don't know if I ever really did, but I certainly understand what it's like. And I certainly understand the mind that comes behind it, because, we have all of those feelings. I think, all of the thoughts and all the feelings are all within us. I feel like I am very in tune to what it's like to have a very strong sense of social anxiety, very strong sense of self-awareness, and self-awareness almost to an extent where it can harm us, right? But I guess my journey, if you could call it that, would be to when I became a coach. I'm a lawyer by trade originally, and I was a bartender in New York City for all around the world, but mostly in New York City for about 5 years. And as a bartender, that's kind of, you have to be social, and I was all the time, and I didn't have a lot of difficulty doing it. And I love my social life and all that. But then at some point I thought, okay, well, I got to really settle down here and got to become more mature and grow up, as they say. So I went to law school, and I didn't really know why. I kind of just did it because it was a thing to do. Because talks with my mom were like, what are you gonna do with your life? What are you gonna do with your life? Saw my friends moving on, saw my friends settling down, getting careers. I said, okay, maybe I should do that. Even though I really liked my little bartending life, it was great. Went through law school, and school was fun, and I could kind of enjoy being a student again. But then when it came time to actually being a lawyer, I remember I had this one job, and I was working in Frankfurt in Germany. It was my first job out of school, and I was a lawyer. Well, this was the period before you have to take the exam, right? And then you don't find out what your exam results are till later. So it was this in-between period, and then after that, they kind of give you an offer. So I was sitting in this office, and I just hated it. This kind of, it looked good. I had my suit on and stuff, and there was like free Starbucks downstairs, and they kind of pamper you, and but it's very sterile. And I remember I just ended up like, I didn't have many friends, didn't have hardly any friends at all. Couldn't really relate to the people I was working with because I didn't have anything in common with them. I felt that they were very much on a serious track, and they had their interests, and I didn't have interests like that at all. And I would, eventually I would just go home and sit at home and watch TV. And I was at a point where I was, smoking a half a pack of cigarettes a day, drinking a bottle of wine just to unwind, just to kind of get the stress off. And I really wasn't enjoying myself at all. And I would go out for happy hours once in a while. And I remember sitting at this bar, and I was about 20, must have been 27, 28 years old. It's about 5 years ago. And there were these two cute girls over at the end of the bar, and I was sitting there with my drink. I don't know if I was with colleagues or not, but I was sitting there holding my drink and just looking at them. I was thinking, God, I really want to go up and say hi to them. I really want to go talk to them, get to know them, see what they're all about. And then I thought, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. What am I going to say? What am I going to do? And then all those thoughts started going through my head, right? And there were thoughts that were kind of always there, but they really became a problem at this point in my life. And, this is coming from being a bartender for so many years and knowing, a bar was like my home. I loved being in a bar. Now suddenly I'm standing there clutching my drink, and I can't go over there and say hi to those girls over there and start a conversation. I lost all of that kind of this. I guess you could call it confidence, but it's more in a belief that everything's going to be okay. Belief that I have something to share about myself. And so I remember I just finished my drink and I went home, and I couldn't figure out why, and it kept happening to me. And then I would go to parties, and it kept happening to me more and more. And I became more and more fake, I guess, less and less honest, because I wasn't really being honest with myself and where I was at. And at one point, not that much later than that, I decided to just quit what I was doing. And it was kind of this decision, and this, I guess, would be like a kind of this peak experience. I just decided to quit in the realization that I didn't have to do this. Kind of in the realization that I didn't have to do anything at all. And all the pressure that I think we put on ourselves, whether it's in social situations or jobs or in our relationships, whatever, so much anxiety comes in because we think we have to be a certain way. We think we have to be a certain way, whether it's now or do something in order to affect a situation to happen in the future, right? And I know you know this very well, David. And so, just releasing that thought of, I don't have to do any of this. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to control anything at all. Just brought to me an enormous sense of all of that kind of power, I guess, confidence, whatever you want to call it. The moment I released myself from that, from the thought that I had to be this, all kind of came back to me. And then within a year, I decided to start up a coaching business, and just basically based off of that one realization. And all revolved around, started off as a dating coach, and still very much am a dating coach, but mostly social anxiety, a lot to do with conversation skills, a lot to do with just feeling comfortable with where you're at and who you are as a person.
That's an amazing story of realization. I think it's happened for so many of us. Everybody on the journey has their realizations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. We don't stop having realizations as far as I've seen, or insights is another way to say it. And I just love that, self-honesty too. You're just like, this is not for me. This is not working out. And that we all have that capacity to do that, no matter how fake we feel. And I think no matter how fake we think somebody else is, they're just a fake person. They're superficial. They'll never, it's a beautiful example of somebody who, was more superficial or fake or trying to fake it. Right. You're in that place, not saying you're that kind of person, but that's just how you were showing up.
Definitely.
We've all been there. I've been there too. I did pickup, for crying out loud. Not that I really don't have anything against pickup in general. I had a big phase where I hated it, but there are goods and bads, just like anything. But you can get into a lot of trouble psychologically with it.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. That's really powerful story. And so for you, what, on this journey now, where are you at as far as, in your own evolution, because some things you said at the end really caught me there about, you work with people dating, social anxiety, social skills, being comfortable with who they are. How is it that you, what kind of people are coming to you, guys, girls? You work mainly with guys, and what's your kind of method, way, I don't even like those words, that you help them be more of who they are and kind of, shed the layers, shed the shell?
Yeah. I work mostly, all my direct contact work, when it's kind of things like this over Skype or in person or over the phone, has been all men so far. I do have some women I work with via email, a couple of calls with, but no long-term things with women. Although I do have a lot of women who watch my videos and who follow my newsletter and so forth. I'd say probably about a third of them, 25% to a third are women, and then the rest are men. Most of them are around my age, actually, around 33, or like me, I'd say early 30s, and are kind of going through a big crisis in many things, mostly in identity, right, in who we are. It really varies, I would say, though, because sometimes I have people who are very comfortable in their jobs, and sometimes I have people who are not, or going through this reevaluation of who they are as a person. And this kind of thought of, have I been sincere all along? Have I been faking it all along? Maybe, right? And that's kind of one big thing that's that sticks out in my mind, is kind of like this big question, is like, are we being sincere with who we are? And that is also something that comes down to honesty, but it's honesty not in the sense of telling the truth, but honesty in the sense of being of seeing ourselves clearly and seeing who we are clearly. And are we expressing ourselves honestly? Are we expressing how we really feel? Not just are we expressing how we see things the way that they are, what's right and what's wrong and what's true and what's not true, but are we expressing how we feel about ourselves? And this is something I think that goes up and down all the time. I mean, if I had this rocky journey of, okay, who I am, who am I, what do I want to do for a living, all this stuff, and I don't really know, and maybe I have to create this fake persona and I don't really enjoy doing it. Well, then you jump into something else, and then I'm a coach suddenly, and then the question is, okay, well, am I a dating coach now? Do I feel comfortable doing this? And if I'm a dating coach, do I feel comfortable telling other people that I'm a dating coach? I had to deal with that for a very long time, right?
Oh, like Hitch.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard that?
Right, exactly. Oh yeah, you're like that movie Hitch, right? All the time, constantly, right? But those questions I think come up over and over and over again. It doesn't really matter where we are, where we are. I think there's I know that you say this, that it's the process and it's the journey, and it's not the kind of getting to the end there. But there's a certain beauty in that. I think that if we can enjoy the process as we're going through it right now, that makes everything worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the outcome, right? Outcome independence is a big thing that happens but there's a real truth in that, being unattached to the outcome. We can it's great to get outcomes and results, but if we are constantly attaching our self-worth and our station in life and all that kind of stuff to that, then our journey becomes one of being thrown around on the waves instead of riding the waves, because the waves are going to go up and down anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kind of how I find it to be. So that's all. And there's some things there that I want to hit on, but I do want to take it back to this direction of, selecting and choosing to be social with certain people, maybe people that you think are cooler or higher status,
right.
versus everyone. Or, even, okay, well, just talk to women. If you're a guy who wants to, get better with women or get more dates or get more sex or find a girlfriend, whatever. And for the girl side, if we're going to address both sexes here, because, you work with guys, I work with both men and women, though lately I'm going towards more men, working with men more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it'd be on the flip side, but definitely that gender selection,
Mm-hmm.
because my sense of it is it connects better, as well with a woman when I don't worry about that. And that at some point there is a sexual part that is different.
Yeah. What's interesting about the women thing, a lot of the women that I've talked to, might just be because of where I'm at and the things I talk about, they have a very easy time connecting with men and not such a hard time connecting with other women. And it's funny, even in the dating side of it, when I work with men who want more help connecting with women, what it really when you really look at it and you evaluate where you're at, even though you want more dates and you want to learn how to connect with women and whatever you want, abundance of women in your life, maybe you want a girlfriend, a wife, whatever. You work for a while on this and you kind of evaluate yourself and you think of where you're at and where you're having issues connecting and what makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy. And suddenly you realize that, wait a minute, I have issues connecting with men as well. I have issues making male friends, making true male friends, just as much as I have, connecting with the opposite sex.
Yeah.
So I think there is very much it's got nothing, our issues have nothing to do with I shouldn't say nothing to do, but if we're unable to connect with the opposite sex, the issue is not in that alone. It's not our inability to connect with the opposite sex. It's much deeper than that. It's our ability to connect with people and with ourselves, of course. Right. And I think what you said in the beginning, what you touched on this a second, the outcome independence thing. I think there are certain people that we tend to kind of like, this is where the danger comes in. It's like, we want to only talk to the cool people, right? Or we only want to talk to the people who can give us, can help us out at our workplace or something, who may be able to offer us a better job or can get us a promotion. Those are the people that we really want to talk to, and the people that are under us, we don't really care about them. Or we only want to talk to the beautiful women and not the women who we don't think are so beautiful because for whatever reason, maybe she's going to be my girlfriend, or maybe because it feels good to have attention from women I think are attractive. All of these things that we have like scrolling in our heads, right? The more and more the more we get sucked into that, we allow ourselves to get sucked into that, the more and more dangerous it is. I think for several reasons. One is this kind of outcome independence thing that you're talking about. Do we have to be independent from an outcome? So you want to go talk to somebody and we can't go and do it. Kind of something's holding us back from doing it. We can't really tell what it is. Maybe it's because we put all this pressure on ourselves to, if it's somebody who is a higher ranking at our job place or whatever, somebody who we need to kind of impress at our workplace, and we see him at an office party and we want to go say hi to him and we say something stupid. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that, right? Or we see him at the corner of the party, we don't say anything at all. We like really want to go talk to him, make a good impression. God, but then you have to tell a joke, and what if he doesn't laugh at my joke? And then, oh man, and then before you know it, the night's up and you never do anything at all. I don't know if we have to be free from the outcome itself, because I think it's okay to care what other people think about us. I think it's a healthy thing. The danger, of course, is when we let our worries about what other people think about us stop us from doing what we really want to do. I don't think we have to stop, I don't care what you think about me, all this stuff, it's like, I give 0 Fs, right? I give 0 fucks. All that stuff is like, it's kind of like just in my opinion, those thoughts are just reasserting the fact that you really do care a lot. And it's okay to care. I think when we allow ourselves to care and we allow ourselves to feel the fact that we do care, and kind of sit in that humanity of it, ironically, almost, or counterintuitively, the worry of it subsides more and more.
Yeah, how it kind of shows up for me is, how I see it is, it actually can be beneficial not to care what they think, but care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times what we think is just mind ego crap anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it, but I can see how it's the same thing of like, well, I care what they think because it's really what they believe deeply and truly. It's like, you know, but there's a way that I've noticed that I can go about, well, I don't care what they think, and it can be very cold and heartless, versus I'm not going to listen to them because I know it's not really who they are, but I'm listening for that and I'm connecting into that. And that's where the heart opens up more. That's where the connection is maintained or even wider or stronger, because I'm the totality of who they are, not only what they think or say, but more the relationship that we have.
Yeah. That's really interesting what you said, because that actually brings up two different points there. There's two ways of caring what other people think about us, right? Of this whole like worrying about what other people think about us. One is, and I think it's what you were addressing more, is when you actually have the reaction from the person, and then you let that get to you, and you think in your bed, and you're like, oh my God, and you go home at night, and then you sit with it, and you're wrestling around, and you can't get it out of your head. And then you start getting angry, maybe, right? You start wondering like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And those thoughts are kind of, they're our own stuff. Like you said, that kind of the ego-based thing. It's our own shit, and we're carrying it inside of us because of what somebody else said or the way somebody else reacted to us. And then on the flip side, there's also this caring about what other people think about us before even knowing what it is. And this is kind of the social anxiety type of caring, right? This kind of desire to control the unknown.
Yeah. The what ifs. What if they think this? What if they say that? What if I fuck this up? What if? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking. Yeah, it's just a constantly, endlessly fascinating thing to me. But I think one thing that what I've also been learning is how emotions and feelings are an indicator of where my thinking is at. So if I'm like, yeah, I don't care what they think, you know, whatever, and I feel really disconnected from myself, that's the wrong direction. But if I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna, you know, care what they think, but it feels kind of open in my body, that's how I experience it. And I'm not, it's like one way is kind of like, you know, faking not caring and kind of fronting, like you said, like before, which is, you know, how did you say it? It's the opposite of caring what others think, but it's still kind of the same thing.
Right.
It's the negative side of the, whatever, you know, versus no, I'm like, because I've also noticed, especially in business, like I've been in part of entrepreneurs groups where, you know, when you come from a place of being really unsure about your business, you're like, you know, what do you guys think? And then you get all this feedback in and it just, you know, you feel all screwed up, but it's because you're already all screwed up.
Yeah.
Versus you get some feedback and you take it in very neutrally, and then you decide whether you'll take it or discard it, like the Bruce Lee, right? Take what's useful, discard the rest, basically. And then you take it, you don't take it personal, your ego doesn't take a hit, because it's not, it isn't personal anyways, in the end, what others think. And it doesn't mean we just, it's sort of like, don't care, but don't not care, right?
Yeah.
It's like, listen, but don't listen.
Yeah, it sounds counterintuitive, but I understand what you mean, and it makes perfect sense. You know, I love the way that you describe that, because to me it hits on the fundamental, the foundation of it, which is always come back to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's so important. We kind of, I mean, it's interesting because we can't really ever see ourselves. It's really hard for us to really get a very clear image of ourselves. We can't really. It's impossible for us to ever see ourselves. Even though I'm kind of looking at myself here in the camera down there.
Yeah. I
can't really see myself. That's a kind of a little tiny little pixelated screen. It's a little bit lagged behind. To really get a clear mirror image of who you are at any point in time is impossible. But what we do see all the time is everything else. Everything else that's not us, right? We're kind of like this, like a video camera, like a flashlight, I guess, kind of shining on everything out there. You know, shining light on everything, looking at everything, but it can see everything, but it can't see itself ever. But what we can do is we can always come back to ourselves and how we process things. We can always come back and how we feel things, how we think about things. That's our power. You know, that's our real, that's kind of our bedrock. I think that's this kind of whole thing about, okay, what is confidence all about? Well, if we can come back and we can trust ourselves and trust the process of feeling and emotions and thoughts that we're going through, and rely on that instead of relying directly on what we see and then forgetting about ourselves. That's where true power comes in, I think. And this like, whether or not we care about other people think about us, how should we care about it? What's the extent that we should care about it? Well, always bring it back to yourself. Because a lot of times we let that instant sense perception from the outside, oh, there we go, it affects us right away. That made us angry right away. Oh, she rejected me right away. Oh, he ignored me. Oh, I didn't do it. All this stuff. But we're letting our emotions and our thoughts be directed not from how they're actually coming into us, but immediately we're ignoring the most important part, which is us. And we're seeing the outside and we're thinking that made me do that. That made me feel this way. Right.
Right. And I think that's a beautiful little depiction there. If you're like, I'm looking at myself in the camera, because we can only see a projection of ourselves. It's a perfect example. Like, and the self is just a projection anyway. You know, what the self that we are, because we're, as far as I know, we're many selves. We're multiple selves. I was just listening to this guy named Gurdjieff this morning. I freak out on all these spiritual teachers and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of his stuff, some of it is frankly quite weird, because when you get spiritual and try to tie science in there, you're going down a very dangerous path as far as, you know, keep it spiritual. Don't go. It's two different things to me in many ways. I mean, there are crossovers, but whatever. But they were talking about, you know, we have many different eyes, and that's the little eye, right? That's I remember I watched, actually, yes, the video with you and Morton, another awesome, great dude, where you're like, well, I'm different with my mother. I'm different with my girlfriend. I'm different with you. Those are the many different eyes. Those are the many different selves.
Yeah.
And those aren't fundamentally real. And then the big eye, which is the eye that what I've come to experience is we sense and feel it, but we can't really see it directly. Can't is the one that knows, you know, is the most connected, one of the most connected places I can come from. You know, if somebody gives me a bad reaction, if I'm, you know, caught up in a particular version of myself, right? David, the cool, confident David, and it hits up against that, that's where I start to go versus I don't follow that self-image. I don't follow those thoughts, even if it's a positive one, which is kind of the weird thing, because there are people out there teaching this stuff. Well, have these beliefs and have that stuff and be confident and cool. And that stuff can get you a result. But I've found, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, there can sometimes feel like, well, depending on how we're feeling in our lives or in our mood or whatever, it can feel pretty inauthentic.
Definitely. I mean, I'm sure you get this a lot where, you know, you get people coming to talk to you or clients coming to talk to you and you say, well, I want to be more, I want to be less shy. You know, I want to be less introverted. I want to be this and that and this. Well, and you want to have all these things. You want to change yourself in certain ways, but we don't ask ourselves why we want to change that way. You know, I want to be more extroverted or whatever it is. We don't really ask ourselves why we want to do all these things. And I think the real key behind it comes from, if we look at what it is that we really want, which is not if we're introverted to be less introverted, or for maybe have certain hangups or whatever, not to really break and go the extreme. But I think it's really comes down to being comfortable with who we are, really at the end of the day, right? So it's using these things as to your advantage, I guess, or using these things in such a way where you feel comfortable integrating.
I think the word connection comes up, which is part of the title of our interjam here. The word connection, it strikes me. This is a part of my story I don't always tell, but I'm a musician. I'm a singer and songwriter and guitar player. Right. And when I was so shy and awkward, and a lot of times it came across as aloof, or I'd be mean to people, or really rude, and definitely not talk to people I didn't know. And, you know, I had this mystery thing going on. So some people talked to me, but I remember saying, I write music because I want to connect with others. I want to communicate and connect. And it still resonates with me. And that's what I think really great music does, is connects with people, connect with themselves as the artist, connect with other people. And that connection piece is so, if I just pay attention to connection versus what do I say, what do I do, how do I look, how do I appear, things much more naturally and effortlessly take care of themselves. Yeah. We don't have to worry about who to talk to or this or that as much. And things, you know, in that same video that I'm going to reference, I think it was confidence equals truth. And actually an email I just sent out, I mentioned you in that video, and I said, hey, we're going to be doing this interview. And you said, there's a girl over there at the bar, and you're like, I want to talk to her, I want to do this and all that. But the river of life is going this way, and she's just not in your river of life, man. It's not that she couldn't be. And it's, you know, because that's a very different way than nut up, you pussy, and go talk to that beautiful girl, which is a lot of that. Do all the approaches, talk to all the women, push through it. And I'm not saying one is more right than the other. I'm saying it's just totally different.
Yeah. It's to be aware of those two things is the key, right? To be aware of what it is, what are we really doing here? You know, you can do whatever you want, but are you actually aware that there's something else going on underneath all of that stuff that you're doing and all that stuff that we're trying to carve our way into the world, make our little space, make ourselves known, create this identity. There's a whole nother thing going on. There's a whole nother expansion that's happening. That's going that way, whether we want it to or not. We're still part of it, whether we want it to or not. You know, we look the way that we look. We can do things about that. And we you know, our personalities are the way that we are, and we can work on that stuff. But there's a foundation of it. Where we came from is the way that it is, whether we want it to or not, right? And you know, I think this really comes into play in a very big way. You know what you reminded me of, that you know, man up and just go do it, versus, well, it might just not be the right time for you. I just came back 2 days ago from I was in Romania, and with a group of 16 guys. There were 16 of us, and we were there for an event. And they were all, the one thing that they had in common, almost all of them were single. A couple of them had girlfriends. They wanted to be better men. They wanted to be more attractive to women. They wanted to learn more about women. They wanted more leadership, all these things. But there was an underlying tone of, well, in order to do these things, we have to go out and meet women, right? So a lot of the events that were taking place, that I hardly went to any of them, were to go out to bars and go out to clubs and learn how to go talk to women. But in my opinion, I guess this shouldn't really be in my opinion, but what I saw and the way that I feel about myself is like, I don't really like going to clubs or bars. I like bars. I used to be a bartender. I like going to bars once in a while. I like to go to a quiet bar. Clubs I hate, unless there's like a huge birthday party and there's a reason for me to go. I'll never step foot in one. But why is it that we are changing the things that we want to do for ourselves, the things that we know make us happy, in order to get to this kind of perceived projected result? You know, there's a very beautiful way to reconcile the two at the same time, to be harmonious in the two. If we want to work on our social skills, we don't have to go and like put ourselves in the middle of a busy mall to learn how to do it. Not at all. You know, now if we're holed up in our room and all we do is sit on the computer and we are deathly afraid of people, that's a little bit different. You have to start taking steps. Yeah. But once you're out there and you're interacting with several people a day, or you're coming across several people a day that you may not be interacting with, you don't have to change your lifestyle around to learn how to connect.
Beautiful, man. I love that. It's something, especially when I work with people, I want to know all their interests, because I want them finding out ways to be social aligned with that, because the context is so easy to not only start conversations, but to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And not that that's the only way, but where are they already going? What are they already doing? And where do they want to go? The shyness and the anxiety might be holding them back, but it's like, look, you got a passion for this. It should be, you know, this is perfect for you to get out of your shell and out from behind your computer, as you said, mm-hmm. That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. And it, you know, for me, like, I do like going out, you know, to the bars and stuff sometimes, but it's usually like, no, I'm older. I like to go out earlier, or I like to, I went out the other night and went to a few places and had a lot of fun, and, you know, talked to some women and whatever. But I wasn't out to do that. You know, I wasn't out to do that. And, you know, I like throwing happy hours together sometimes, because I like, you know, if I want to go out to a place, I want to put it together, and I'm the leader guy. Sometimes, you know, I put it together, but it's still not about that. It's still about getting everybody together. It's just having a big group of friends out. But, you know, for a while over the winter, I was working here at home, the home office more. And I have an actual office. And then I started going the last few weeks, and I met like 6 people in a week. Mm. And like you said, it's just going through the day. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? And sometimes I say hi to people 4 or 5 times before actually a conversation to get started. And usually, a lot of times, I'm the one to start it, because you notice how unsocial people can be, at least in this country. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they can really be. Not everyone, but, you know, or they get in the work zone and it's like, hey, what's going on? How's your day? You know, how are you? And it's just so fascinating to me that And sometimes it's me. I'm going to totally admit to that. Sometimes it's me being in that zone and going,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's fully okay to be that. It's like, I think that we put so much pressure on ourselves. It's this whole thing, and kind of what I was trying to get at in the beginning when I was telling my story, like one story in my story, which is like, you release yourself from that thought of like, I have to do this and I have to be this way. And it starts coming to you. And, the realization that all of these things that we want actually come to us when we're open, right? Or they're flowing through us anyway. It's easy to kind of sit here and talk about it and blah, 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 but it's very true. And, this like letting go of the need to have to be this way. So you get this, people who come to you want to be social. People come to me, want to learn how to be social. They want to learn how to connect and talk to everybody, all of this stuff. But that does not mean that you have to change your identity into, I have to be this 100% social person all the time in any given situation. I have to be super social man.
Right.
If you're not social at all, you kind of want that. And you're looking up kind of like the pickup thing. It's like, you're not meeting any women at all. You're not sleeping with any women at all. Okay. You want 100 women in your life. Great. But once you start going down that path, well, you pull it back a lot. But it same goes with this idea of, well, I need to go out and practice how to be social. And then it becomes a chore and it becomes a task. If there are days when we're not feeling social, don't do anything, man. Stay at home. You don't have to go out every single day.
Oh, yeah.
You really don't have to. Just practice on a few people a day. Same with and it's the same principle that we can ease our way into all of these things. When we ease our way in and allow it, we allow it to happen, do it in such a way that we still feel good about ourselves and still feel good about what we're doing. There's an element of pushing ourselves, sure. But there's also an element of finding enjoyment in every single one of these moments. Same with, like you said about, you say hi to a couple of people a few times before you actually start a conversation with them. So do I. Exact same thing. Yeah. When we have this hesitation, this kind of like cement feet syndrome, when we can't go talk to that person, I believe it comes because our mind is telling us, okay, now this person's over there, I have to go talk to him or her or whatever. And our mind's telling us, okay, well, now I have to have a conversation with them. Now they have to be interested in me. Oh, what am I going to say to get that? Well, okay, now I have to be funny. They have to be engaged, and then maybe I have to get their phone number. Then they have to be my friend. Then I have to hang out with them next week. And all of these things are going through our mind before we've even gone up and done anything at all. And the truth of the matter is, all you have to do is say hi with a friendly smile, maybe a word or two, and that's it. And then walk away, right? So, I always say, just say hi with a friendly smile. And then the next people that you meet, go around, practice just a little bit. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Say one observation. Don't wait for them to respond. Just say the observation. Because once you have that quick 10-second conversation with somebody, 15-second conversation, nothing huge. The next time you see them in the same place again, it's like your old buddies, right? It's like you guys have known each other forever. Because like you said, we're all walking past each other like this. Nobody's talking to anybody. Everybody's in work mode. Everybody's very disconnected. But everybody's starving for that connection. You can make that one tiny little connection and plant those little seeds all around. The next time you see those people, you're doing something that nobody else is doing. It's like you're sharing a moment together. And how rare is it, these days, that adult strangers are able to share a moment together with no pretenses, with no expectations, nothing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I've done it both ways for sure, where it's like, I have pushed through, what do you say, what do I do, what I have to, and I pushed myself through it. Mm-hmm. And still had a conversation and forced it, versus coming from the place of just the next moment, the next thing, the next high, the next conversation. Yeah. And then it blossoms is the word that comes to mind, in a totally different way, in a way that my mind couldn't even conceive of, because our minds can only be limited anyway. That's the nature of having a mind. I
like that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's not a good or bad thing. It's just kind of what I notice about it. And the more that I project, well, it's got to go this way, the more stilted and disconnected it is, versus it feeling very alive and organic, like produce. No. Just feeling very, holy shit, like, or if, I'm sure I know you've had this experience where you're like, there is a girl, or there's somebody you want to talk to. You're like, well, I don't know, I don't know but there's not a lot of thinking going on. There's no have tos. And then all of a sudden you guys end up next to each other and are talking.
Yeah. Usually that's what
happen like that.
Right. But a good chunk of the time it does happen that way, and a lot, so many times, I'll especially when I'm doing one-on-one stuff, one-on-one coaching, I'll get asked, okay, what did you say in that conversation? And I don't really know what I said. Sometimes I'll remember the words that I said, but it's like, why? Well, like, why did you say the things you're saying? No reason. There's no reason at all. There's no reason behind it. Why? Why? And I think that this kind of, because it feels good, because you want to, and that's why the work that we do, I think, is so beautiful. The area that we work in is so beautiful because that's what we're doing is all about. There's no reason behind why we want to be more social. There's no reason to connect to other people. You do it because it feels good, and that's why I think it's so beautiful, and it's so pure in a way, and we come at it with a good intention.
Yeah.
And this good intention is, and actually this good intention, I think, is extremely important. This is the foundation for it, which is why there's the big danger, and I guess taking it back to what we were originally going to talk about, which is this picking and choosing the type of people that you want to talk to, and just being social with everybody. Because we have this kind of, the more we are picking and choosing the people that we want to talk to, we've got this hidden agenda, right? Of like, okay, well, I only want to talk to cute girls, or I only want to talk to handsome guys. I only want to talk to people at my work who are influential. And when we've set this as the motivation behind why we want to be social, behind why we're connecting with other people, well, we're not really connecting with other people at all. We're not sharing anything about ourselves at all. We're taking, and this is why it doesn't feel good. If we can release ourselves, let go of this need to only gravitate towards certain people who can give us something, gravitate towards certain people who can be of benefit to us in a certain way, it feels so much better. We are ranking ourselves all the time, judging ourselves all the time compared to other people, right? If we're a guy and we see these cute girls over there, really cute, and over there's girls who aren't so cute. What you've just done there, you see, is the judgments that we've made about this girl over here and this girl over there. It's all in our mind. We're doing it to ourselves. The only thing we're judging here is ourselves and how attractive we think we are.
Yeah.
And it's when we can release ourselves from that and talk to, for a guy and we want to meet girls, talk to all girls. Talk to all girls, because every person's worth meeting. Every person's worth getting to know. Every connection is worth making. One's not going to bring you anything more than another. When you think it does, you see, you've automatically started ranking yourself in comparison to other people, and you're bringing yourself down in a big way. You're bringing other people down too, and you're pushing other people up, but you're really we're not doing ourselves any favors. We're not doing ourselves any justice to the person that we really are when we're doing this.
Love that, man. It to me, and I like to make the distinction, it's not us, it's our mind, it's our conditioning that's doing that.
Yeah.
Because like you said, who we really are is not the conditioning. We're much more than that. And we all have our conditioning. But we also don't need to uncondition ourselves necessarily. We just need to understand more that's what's happening. And then we get free of it.
Yeah.
We get free of it. Because the conditioning often keeps coming back. And there's even neurological things to say, well, the brain patterns, we can rewire our brains with neuroplasticity. But I remember when I saw a therapist years ago who said they think that some of the pathways still remain for evolutionary purposes. So you can't totally kill the pathway. And you don't have to.
And you don't have to. Yeah. I think what you said is so
eradicate the limiting belief. I need to eradicate, it's no, you don't.
Yeah. 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 What you said is so beautiful and so important. I think that may have even been over, you said it so quickly. I think it may have been over, I almost overheard it. And that is, I can't even remember the exact words, but it was, oh man, I can't remember it now, but it was basically what we were talking about. It's, you don't have to try to overcome these things that you are. Try to blast through these things that you are in the way that you're thinking. You just have to be aware of it.
Yeah. And
the awareness of it itself is curative. The awareness of it itself will set us on the right course.
Yeah. And that exactly. I love that. And the awareness part, but we can have a whole conversation about what that means, because to be intellectually aware is not to be aware.
Yeah.
Only intellectually aware. It's to have the insight or the realization kind of aware. It's like, oh, which is a constant thing I've also noticed. Like, yes, we have big realizations, but real realization is continuous. Real awareness is continuous. it's not a big moment, then boom, you're done. That's a projected kind of, okay, I'll get there someday. That's the overcoming.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Based on what we thought in the past of what might happen later.
Yeah. And the overcoming is so prevalent in our culture. Striving, succeeding, striving to get something, striving. Another video you saw, which is why I first reached out to you, I think, is the one on effortless effort,
Oh yeah, effortless action. Yeah.
Effortless action. Yes. Effortless action, which is actually better and clearer than effortless effort, right? Those are those confusing things. Effortless action is when, of course, we want a result, but we're not striving. We're not Sisyphus, the myth of Sisyphus, the boulder, rolling the boulder up a hill and then rolling it back down again and rolling it back up. That's how so much of our culture is set up. And no wonder why we work ourselves to death and we work ourselves into misery. And I have plenty of that conditioning too. And I love being successful. I love succeeding. Believe me, I'm working on a ton of shit right now. But I've also started to realize that setting something to overcome out here is the problem itself. And I got caught in that pattern the other night. I got into a real place of suffering, mental suffering. I was talking to my friend about it, but what happens more and more, it's a springboard for higher realization, oh shit, that's the idea that I have to become better is part of the same pattern that makes me feel like shit.
Absolutely.
Be a better man or improve or all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about, I want to dial into this thing for the guys on women.
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
About
my favorite topic.
Awesome. Then we'll talk about it. How do you see it? So we're talking about connecting with everyone and I remember a story by a guy when I did some pickup workshops way in the past, like 8 years ago or some shit, 9 years ago. One of them was really good called Charisma Arts by this guy, Wayne Elise. Because it was about being so
good. Yeah. He's out here in he's in San Francisco. Yeah. I think.
Oh, is he?
I think so. But.
And there was a kid named Johnny Savior who used to be one of his coaches. And he's a young kid in mid-20s. And he broke all the rules of pickup and connected with people. And women were like, you just broke them all because he just connected with people. And he really taught me a lot about being social. And but I remember a story from Wayne Elise was he was coaching some clients in Australia. And the guy's like, oh, I want to talk to the hot girl over there. He's like, just talk to these people here. This guy looks friendly. Go talk to him. He looks open. Yeah. And it ended up being that this guy knew that girl across the bar. And then they,
Yeah, exactly.
And again, then also it's like, okay, then how do I structure that? And how do I get that result? It doesn't work. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So this being social part, and then also, because we are talking about sexuality here and sexual connection, not just social connections when it comes to attraction, and there is a differentiation there, it seems to me, and maybe you see it differently. I don't know. How do you, see that, and how do you help somebody navigate that in terms of, okay, we'll be social, talk to everyone, but then they're like, well, what happens at the point of, where we're supposed to be more sexual and attracted?
Yeah. So two big things. Okay. So one is, those are both great topics. The first one, just when it comes to being social with everyone, that we were telling me, the Wayne Elise, right, says, well, just be social with these people, just be social with the people that are around you first, and then let's see what happens. And I think that is so spot on. That is so key. This is overlooked so much in pickup, and pickup has its place. And I think that anybody watching this right now is kind of over it. I think in a bit, but it's got, but it has its place. It's a stepping stone to get somewhere else. Now, if you're stuck on that stepping stone forever, it's not, then it can really start fucking you up, because then you're just, there, and you're just kind of running through the same loops over and over and over and over again. You're not getting anywhere, and you're still not happy. But it catches the right people at the right time, with the right level of, with a certain level of, I want to get here, but it's still a level of growth, right? So I think it definitely has its place. And then once you're there, then you think, okay, I've gotten this. Now what else is next? But I think pickup is a great entry. I shouldn't say it's great, but it's a very useful entry into something much bigger. If we gain and we develop the awareness for that, right?
Yeah.
But the whole, the whole pickup, the entire thing is predicated on something very false, which is that you have to go out of your way of whatever it is that you're doing in your shitty little life. And then you have to be this guy, and you have to make yourself look like this. And then there's that girl over there, and then you have to go talk to her over there. And that is like, you can do that, but now see what you've done is you have a life. You had a life before this, before you decided to change your life to go talk to this girl over there that you don't even know, and you may not even like, for all you know. Who knows? You don't know anything about this girl over there. And you've changed, or you've kind of sacrificed or forsaken all this stuff that you are, and all these things that you enjoy, the things that you like about yourself, and you've thrown that behind your shoulder. You've left that in your shoebox. You've gone after it, kind of to go chase this girl over there, or that girl over there. What she's really interested in is all of you that you've thrown in the shoebox. So there are women all around, all the time. Unless you're sitting in a room by yourself at home, then you got to start working on some lifestyle stuff, and that's a different question. But if you are going about your day and you are living a relatively normal life, there are going to be women all around you, all the time, and men and people. And there's, humans are we're creatures of habit. We're a social creature. We can cultivate our ability to interact in society, to cultivate our ability to connect with the world around us, not just with some girl way over there, but the world around us. Because it's a network. It is. Our entire process of living, right, is an extremely complex network. When we can work on our integration in that network, the women will be all over. The women are all over, right? But we forget about that. We try to leave the net because there's a cute fly over there.
Right. And so sort of what I hear you saying too is, because a guy could be going out all the time, but if he has these differentiations in his mind, a lot of, women actually, and actually women too. I had a call with a potential woman client the other day, and she was, wanting to have a boyfriend, and because she's really, shy and nervous inside, and her friends are like, "How do you get all the guys to come to you?" And she's like, "What?" But she sort of realizes it, but she sort of shoes it because she's so worried about what's next, right? And that it's so different and connecting, and that, and there's a differentiating there. I do differentiate. There is a way that women can still be, guys will approach them even if they're quiet and shy. They're demure, right?
Yeah.
Guys, we got it, dude. It's unless you're like, Brad Pitt gone shy or whatever, dude. It's like, you got to be able to talk.
Yeah. If you're not doing anything, you have to do something. You have to start moving a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But it doesn't mean it's any less painful for women on the inside, because eventually they're like, if they can't respond back or they shy away, then they don't get anything either.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I think women have the strongest internal dialogue, much stronger internal dialogue than men in certain regards, because they have so many things they have to worry about.
Right.
Not just how's this guy going to react to me but how do I need to behave in this situation in order to conform to what this guy might think he wants of me. And all of these thoughts are just going through your head, and it's very, very tough. But in terms of this sexuality and sexual expression that you were talking about, at least on the part of men, women too, and I love the way that you put it in the beginning. You said, okay, well, I can be social with everybody, and I can work on my social skills and follow these principles and be myself and all this stuff. But at what point does this sexuality thing come in? Because at some point, if I'm talking to a woman, I have to talk to her differently than a man. At some point, if I'm talking to a woman and I'm friendly with her, I have to it has to become sexual at some point, right? If I'm sexually interested in her.
Yeah.
That's a construction I think that we create with our mind. That is not, but what I say and fundamentally believe is that there's no point at which you switch it on. It's always there. So any sexual expression that you have is there right from the beginning, always. It's not something that you have to speak. It can be when you work on it and you start practicing it. Yeah, then you kind of start practicing things like saying, okay, well, you're attracted to this woman. Okay, now practice saying it. Do you want to kiss her? Well, then you have to practice saying it, practice doing it. You want to touch her? You have to practice doing that stuff on a date, right? After a while, not even after a while, what this is really doing, what this is really building up is our ability to communicate from the sexual channel. which is there constantly. You know, we have these channels of communication. I don't even know, I have no idea what all of them are. There's probably, it's runs so deep, so complex, much more than we can understand through spirituality, science, anything. It's an extremely complex way in which human beings interact and communicate and connect. But there is something there. There's something underlying, I think, when it comes to sexuality, sexual expression. And if you're a man and you want her to know that you're serious about her sexually, you're interested in her sexually, and you're serious about doing this, this is something that is communicated, can be communicated through words and through talking, through actions and eye contact and all that stuff. But on a much more fundamental level, it's something that's there all the time. Right?
Totally agree with that, especially because we can say something and we can say, you know, something like, I want to kiss you. And she's like, I'm not feeling that. You're fronting. So the words are merely an extension of the energetic channel. I like the word that you use, channel, that's already there. Mm-hmm. And when you follow that channel, yes, we can learn some phrases or things to say, but we already, you know, if we follow that channel, it's like it's already ingrained in us. And I love that you said that. You know, I was out a couple months back with a woman, and I was, you know, we were there talking, connecting, and the whole thing was, and I was touching her and stuff, but she was very closed off, you know. And one possible move would have been to say, I noticed that you're closed off, right? That's what some people might say to do. Didn't do that. What happened was, at one point I was like, I got no more moves here. I looked down yeah. and I looked at her leg, and she goes, what, do you like my knee or something? And I just looked at her knee. Then I looked her up and down and said, no, I like your body. And the whole thing blew open.
Great.
But I followed that feeling that was within me that I wanted her.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me in that moment, it just came up of what's true for me here. And it hits on the confidence equals truth thing. And what's true is, no, I've been wanting to find a way to express it, and I guess I haven't been doing a very good job of it, or you haven't been open to it, or whatever. And then I just went from there, and it was a really awesome night.
Yeah, that's great. You know what that reminds me of? What we do is we block it off, not just in our communication with her or with him. If you're a woman, this is the same for women, same for men.
Or if you're LGBTA, so I don't.
Yeah, right. Yes, true. Also,
I know people can get upset if we don't. We got to include everybody, right?
Yes, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, especially two women. That's very tough, I'm sure. But I would imagine. But I'm talking about sexual communication now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what we do is we block off the communication, the sexual communication, not just from us to him or us to her, but we do it in our own mind. We do it to ourselves. We suppress it. You know, these thoughts are going through, and we're thinking, oh no, I can't think these thoughts right now. It's not the right time yet. I'm only on the first date. Or, oh, and I just met her at the supermarket, or we're at a party, and I can't be thinking these. I have to be like civilized, and I have to be a good person, and I have to ask her about her interests, and I have to show that I'm interested in all these things, and I have to be charming and tell jokes, non-sexual ones. But what I can't possibly do is have these sexual thoughts of what I want to be doing to her in the bedroom going through my head, because if I'm having those, I can't be having that. So we're pushing it down. Whether that's our own sexual shame, or it's the belief that it's somehow inappropriate, any of these things, doesn't really matter what the belief is, but we're suppressing it, and we're not letting it flow through us. When we let it flow through us first in our own minds, then we start feeling it. And then it becomes much more easy to express it. What we do is we push it down, pretend like we're not having these thoughts. Then we're thinking, okay, now I have to go in for the kiss. Oh, how do I do it now? Because I've been suppressing it the whole time. So you're like all this buildup. We have all this sexual buildup that's down here. And then, you get this kind of friend zone like situation a lot, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go in for the kiss. Why don't you try to kiss her? And she's like, what are you doing? Right? Because we haven't communicated anything at all.
Yeah. And it's, for me, I find it, I still run up against those things too. Like, oh, is it this time? But it's feeling through that. The sexual tension is a fascinating thing too, and how that, but again, the connection piece, it comes back to that connection piece. It's like, we can be sexual, and if there's no connection there, it, you know, may work and may get a guy somewhere, whatever, somebody somewhere, but it just seems to happen when I address the connection with someone, and in this case with a woman, versus, and the connection to my sexuality, or whether I'm being suppressed by sexually shaming thoughts or whatever. There's the awareness piece where the awareness can be curative.
Yeah, this connection that you're saying, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
The connection that you're saying is so, to sit in that is so helpful, to always come back to this. And it can help in small talk, it can help in on a date, it can help in many things. It's not just what you're saying. You know, we think of this even when it comes to sexuality and saying, okay, now I have to show her I'm sexually interested in her, or if it's a woman, it's even harder. How can I show him that I'm interested in him without being vulgar and saying all this stuff, right? And because, you know, as a woman, you're opening up, and if you open up to a man and he doesn't receive it, I mean, that can feel really, that can feel devastating. And a lot, you know, and like flip side, the guy, you know, guys don't see the signs and they want it the whole time. And they don't realize when a woman's opening up, or he's too afraid to do something and she's hurt because he didn't do anything. He's thinking, oh my God, she didn't give me any signs. You know, he's thinking, oh God, one sign and I would have been in there, you know, and he's not seeing any signs at all. But, but this connection, right, is that, seeing who the person is behind the words is so important. You know, we get lost in the words so many times. Listening to the words convey information. They convey something about our personality, and the pitch and the tone convey how we feel and all these things. But behind this, who is the person who is speaking the words to you? You know, who's the person who is saying the things that they're saying? This is a whole nother operation, I think, of human communication, right? It's who is this person behind the words that they're saying? Who is this person who's telling me the story? And that, I think, can lead us to beautiful, beautiful places. We get fixated on the words and we think, oh, this is boring small talk. I don't like talking about this. Can we talk about something else? Meanwhile, we're ignoring the underlying thing, which is who is the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of doing all that stuff.
You know, but it happens at the same time. We think like, okay, I should stop listening to the words and start listening to the person. No, you listen to both. You open up what you're hearing.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Include. Don't switch, but include more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. And so I'm curious about that. Like that. Can you say more what you mean by who that person is beyond, you know, the agenda to communicate that I like this person or whatever, or what they're saying, blah, blah, you know?
Yeah, well, in a sexual way, it's a little bit different, right? Well, I guess in terms of just you're meeting somebody and you're having small talk with them, we tune out of the talk because we're not interested in it, or we're trying to think like, okay, how can I change this to something that's going to be more interesting to me? Blah 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 blah. All these things. Well, is the person who you're speaking to interesting to you? Because if the person who you're speaking to is interesting to you, you move the conversation in the direction that you want because of based on your interest in the person, not on your interest in what they're saying. So we have this tendency to sort of take the words that they're saying and say, how can I switch these words into something more interesting? And we never ask what inspired them to say these things that they're saying. Oh, you're like this. Tell me more about your travels or whatever. Right? Instead, we're kind of taking the story that they're telling us and we're trying to move the story instead of taking the story that, let's put this in a date situation. And you're asking women these questions. First, you audit a date and you learn, you have the big mistake and you just talk and talk and talk about yourself and you don't listen to what she says. And then, and then it's like, well, he didn't listen. Great. He just likes to talk about himself. Then you learn your lesson. And then you kind of do the opposite. You say, okay, now I'm going to listen. And now I'm going to ask all these questions. And then you become like the interview machine, right? And you're saying, okay,
I'm going to do listening. Yay. That's the right solution. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then she's saying all these things and we're just asking more questions and we're still not listening. We've replaced the not listening with talking. We've replaced that with not listening by asking questions. But we're not taking in what she's actually saying because if she's painting this beautiful painting for us, we're asking her to lay out her story for us right here. And she's giving it to us. She's laying it on. And we're not actually looking at what she's giving us. We're saying, give me more. Yeah, tell me more. And we're not actually looking at the painting that she's picked, the picture that she's painting for us.
Mm.
right? Or we take what she says and we try to dissect it. We're the kind of the judgmental guy. And we say, oh, you're like this because this. Oh, you must be a logical thinker, blah, blah, blah. And then we're dissecting all of these things, but we're not actually looking. And that's kind of like a guy who goes and looks at a painting, and he can tell you all about why Picasso's blue period was blue, and then how that ended up turning, it was in 1935, and then how that ended up turning into Cubism, and blah, 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 blah. And all these other people were doing this. And they're deconstructing the painting, but are they appreciating it? And there's a lot to be learned from simple mere appreciation.
Dude, I so love that. I agree with that. Just before we had a talk here, I went and saw U2 on Sunday. They came here to Denver, and it was just awesome. And I'm listening to U2 this morning, and I saw a live performance of their song called "Ordinary Love," and Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, and I just was like brought to tears, man. And I just, because I'm a musician, I can deconstruct everything. Right, to understand it, but I feel fortunate that I don't have the capacity not to do that all the time. And I was about to send, I did send to a friend, but sometimes when I send this friend who's also a musician, but he's very intellectual about it, he deconstructs it sometimes. And I just had this fantasy conversation going, dude, listen to what's in front of you, don't compare it.
That's great.
Because, and the parallel here for what you said is, and what I was getting and so affected by when you said that was, even like, it's the way she's painting it, not even the details, the expression, to get to see who she really is, who that person is what's behind even the details, how she's kind of emanating that, which happens from how we listen too. There has to be a space for it. Otherwise, why would she do that? We have to have curiosity, and we listen in a certain way or in a deeper way that we get a deeper sense of who she is that goes beyond even the painting. Who's the artist behind the painting? You get the sense, but the painting is the painting, and the expression of where that came from is what's fascinating to me, and that is kind of infinite.
That's exactly that's what I was looking for, and I couldn't think of the words.
And that's where that connection is like mind-blowing. It's like, it doesn't make any sense going back to what you said before. Well, why did you say that in a conversation? I don't know, just because I wanted to. And the less sense that we make of these things, the easier things can happen. We had a 30th birthday party here last weekend for my roommate. And we were playing this game called bocce ball. I don't know if you know bocce ball.
I know bocce ball. Yeah, I love bocce.
A little ball, and you throw it, and we were drinking beers, and like, we took it outside around the house, and like, we're just loud at, being loud. And I really noticed how it was almost like we were a bunch of barking dogs going blah, 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 blah. Like, it didn't even fucking matter what we said, but we were all having such a good time and connected. And the language and everything was so beyond the vibe, energy, and the connections that we had. I don't even want to call them social, but yeah, we were, a group of 5 to 6 guys. It changed. And I noticed, I'm like, I gotta tell the community about this, about how you can talk gibberish.
Yeah.
When you have a connection, you can say anything, and it's about that connection.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's so true. So true. You know how they say, you take a trip somewhere, and unless you're by yourself, which I always advocate taking trips by yourself, especially if you're dealing with a lot of social anxiety and connection. But aside from that, let's say you take a trip somewhere and you go with your friends or whatever, you go with some people, and it's an amazing bonding. It's a great time. And the people make the trip, right? Not the environment that you go to. Let's say you take a trip to Greece, but you go with your 4 close friends, and you guys just have an amazing time. It's the people that make it, not Greece itself, because you can go another time with other people and not have such a good time. But at the same time, it's not what you talked about, because you don't remember the conversations that you had. You just remember that it was a great time. Isn't that curious?
So this has just been an awesome conversation, man. I think it's probably time to wrap it up. Any final thoughts for people in this topic, or any words of wisdom from Shogo? No pressure.
What I think it's what it comes down to, I think, and this is some kind of addressing both of our audiences. When you say words of wisdom, we think we have to say the right thing, and I think there are certainly words of wisdom, of course, but we think that we put so much importance on it, and we and we pay so much attention to the words and the things that we're saying, and make sure that the words that we're saying are intelligent, and that they come out right, and that they have the right intonation, and we're well spoken and all these things that we want. But there's so much more behind that. And I think when we are able to kind of cultivate those things that are behind it, whether it's our lifestyle kind of we talked about, or whether it's the way that we look at other people, right? The way that how we judge other people, whether it's kind of like this, our thoughts flowing freely within us, or are we suppressing our thoughts prior to them coming out, right? A lot of times our words come out strangely because we're suppressing the thoughts first, whereas the thoughts we really have to worry about, and the words will start coming. Mm-hmm. All of these things, but we focus on the product. It's almost like the words, the final thing. We focus on this final thing. We want that to be the package to be shiny, but we don't look at the factory making a package too much. So that's where that's where all the real beauty is, and where the real magic is, I think. And that's just, there's so much juicy, interesting stuff back there. But again, I guess the one thing I want to say is that I think my favorite part of our discussion, I think we were definitely on the same page there, is this, the purity of it. Of what we're working in here, and this discussion that we're having. And anybody watching this also is part of the discussion. It's not like, it's a discussion more than anything. And I think that we're kind of providing that space and that ground to open up that discussion. Kind of this, that human connection, human interaction, our striving to want to be more social, striving to want to connect with people, to speak directly from our minds and from our hearts. When our intention is pure, and when our intention is good, that's when it really feels right.
Yeah, I love that. That's what it feels like to me too, is that pure place of purity, or even innocence.
Yeah.
Beyond all the conditioning and the agendas, which is just from conditioning anyway, pretty much. So, what we think we should do and have to, and this will make us happy, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man. So great. Loved our conversation, and I love how it's just a space for conversation, but for our thinking and what ifs and have tos that get in the way, a lot of times we just already know what to do. I think pretty much almost all the time.
Yeah. Well, we know what to do, and we don't know at the same time. We do and we don't, and we know what. So it's just a big mess in there.
We get to know by not knowing.
Yeah.
All that paradoxical Zen shit.
Mm-hmm.
So how can they find you? Tell us about how to link up, connect with you. If you want to talk about anything else you got going on?
Yeah, I don't, I have a website called thesocialgeneration.com, and that's, I don't write too much on there, but I have a newsletter that I love to send newsletters out here and there. I have a hard time keeping up with it, so I never bombard people with anything, and just my thoughts, and a lot of kind of very similar stuff that we've been talking about. I have a YouTube channel, which is my name, Shogo Garcia. You can find me there. And other than that, I don't have like a lot to sell. I don't have a lot to plug, but I will have some stuff coming out in the future. I've got a program coming out, a 12-week program, but which and I'm going through all the stuff myself. So it's it's a video course, and I also go through all the exercises that I give to kind of
cool.
But other than that, I'd love to hear from anybody that watched this interview. Just go onto my website, my contact page, or whatever, and drop me a line.
Yeah, absolutely. Drop comments here. Go subscribe to Shogo's stuff. Go to his website. I'll make sure to put all the links, of course, so you guys can find it easily.
Is this on you? Is this going on YouTube, or is it going? Or is this on your?
It's going on. Yeah, we're going to be on YouTube. So all the links below and through the video, I'll do that as well, so you guys can link up and connect with Shogo. So thanks so much for being here, man. I love the conversation, and hopefully we'll do some more in the future too. And
yeah, David, I loved it too. It's great, man.
And thanks for you guys watching. Please do post comments down below and check out Shogo's stuff. And until next time, we are complete.